cloud. And then.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the IDEA Committee meeting of August 17, 2022. We'll start off by having our staff read the preamble.
Yes. This meeting is compliant with the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by California Assembly Bill number 361, effective September 16, 2021, providing for a public health emergency exception to the standard teleconference rules required by the Brown Act. The purpose of this is to provide a safe environment for the public, staff, and committee members while allowing for public participation. The public may address the committee members using exclusively remote public comment options. The committee may take action on any item listed in the agenda. To address the committee, the IDEA Committee meeting will be an exclusively virtual meeting. The IDEA Committee meeting agenda materials may be viewed online at brisbaneca.org at least 24 hours prior to a special meeting and at least 72 hours prior to a regular meeting. To view the meeting, please join the Zoom. Please join the meeting with the Zoom information below. Meeting participants are encouraged to submit public comments in writing in advance of the meeting. Aside from commenting while in the Zoom meeting, the following email and text line will also be monitored during the meeting, and public comments received will be noted into the record during oral communications or an item. The email is ccheung, ccheung @brisbaneca.org, and the text line is 628-219-2919. To join the Zoom meeting, it's brisbaneca.org/idea-zoom. The meeting ID is 816-0979-9931, and the passcode is 123456. The call-in number is 1-669-900-9128. And lastly, special assistance. If you need special assistance to participate in this meeting, please contact City Clerk at 415-508-2113. Notification in advance of the meeting will enable the city to make reasonable arrangements to ensure accessibility to this meeting.
All right. Thank you, Caroline. So it's 6:05, and I'm officially calling this meeting to order at 6:06, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Steph, if you don't mind, roll call, please.
Sure. Committee member Bustos.
Here.
Committee member Horton is absent. Committee member Kolhatkar.
Here.
Here. Committee member Nita is absent. Committee member Osito.
Aye.
Okay, and Chair Locke.
Aye. All right. So the first order of business is can I get a first and a second to adopt the agenda as it stands?
Sure. I'm gonna do the roll call vote again. Committee member
I
Bustos.
think we have to get first and second first.
I first.
Yes.
Okay, I'll
Oh,
second.
sorry. First from
Committee member Seno, and I second.
okay.
And thank you. Staff, roll call vote, please.
Sure. Committee member Bustos.
Aye.
Okay, committee member Horton's absent. Committee member Kolhatkar.
Aye.
Okay, committee member Nita's absent. Committee member Osito
Aye.
and Chair Locke.
Aye. All right, next order of business is can I get a first and second to approve the minutes of the IDEA Committee meeting of July 20th, 2022? Can I
Make a motion to approve.
And I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Committee member Bustos.
Aye.
Okay, committee member Horton absent. Committee member Kolhatkar.
Aye.
And committee member Nita's absent. Committee member Osito
Aye.
and Chair Locke.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, now let's move on to public comments. Staff, is there a member of the public wishing to make any public comments?
I don't see any texts or emails.
Great, well, thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on to the business for today's committee meeting. I think we'll start with new business first. So if we could get a staff report, please.
Sure. Tonight, what we were thinking the committee would want to do is start working on their work plan that you talked about at the last meeting. You determined at the last meeting that there are two areas that you were going to focus on, 3 subcommittees, the different events and outreach that the committee could work towards, and then also different policy issues that the committee can work by providing information back to the city council for potential policy changes.
You're
What
right.
we did for you tonight on the staff report was just quickly outlined a few questions that you might want to consider when you're talking about, what you want to ask the subcommittees to work on when it relates to events. As we talked about last time, when we talked about creating policy, we always talked about what the purpose is. And so that's really what the first question is for under the events area. What is IDEA trying to achieve with outreach? Who do you want to reach? And what do you hope to be the outcome of that outreach? And then probably more the subcommittee would work on is what are the possible ways to make this happen? So if you probably provided the subcommittee just a broad perspective of what you were thinking that you wanted to achieve, and then ask the subcommittee to come back with different ways of making that happen and what would be the different tasks that might need to happen for those. On the policy side, are there areas that you think the city council should look at broadly? Are there areas around IDEA that the city council needs to be thinking about? And then, of course, getting back to the idea of the policies is what is the idea the IDEA committee believes is not working from a policy perspective, and then asking the committee to come back with like what types of policies might fix those deficiencies. And then does the last one was, does the committee feel decisions are not made with the right representation from the community, and do certain segments of the community feel left out of decision making or being able to reach out to the city for help? I think those were broadly the topics that made sense from a staff perspective, and also a city council. I think the committee has also talked about those kinds of areas. So we just were trying to outline questions that the committee may want to talk about as it starts its brainstorming to figure out what to provide the direction for the subcommittees. Then once the subcommittees work through that, they would bring back their ideas back to the whole committee for the whole committee to look at, and then from there you can develop a work plan that you can present to the city council subcommittee and then to the whole city council, and make sure that you are in line with what the city council is looking for. That would be the end of my staff report, and whatever you need from staff in the brainstorming, we are here to help.
Okay, I think we should start with the policy issues first, because that's first on the agenda. So I think what the committee really needs to, at least in my view, is to identify the potential problematic policies that we want to at least discuss and tackle, and just kind of see which policies do impact the inclusion, diversity, equity, and accountability. Because then otherwise it's a very broad thing. Like, I mean, we could propose policies. I know that Diane and Mangesh are on the policy subcommittee, so maybe they can weigh in a little more, but I feel like having a launching pad would be a great idea. But Mangesh, Diane, did you have any?
Right. So just wanted to clarify one thing, Stuart. Are we going to brainstorm about as a committee here, and then the subcommittee goes off and decides what recommendations to make that come back to the committee, which eventually we make recommendations to the city? Is that the process we need to follow here, or should we basically take these considerations right now that you outlined and meet as a subcommittee and then come back and propose these and basically approve these within our committee before recommending?
Right.
I'm just trying to understand.
Sure. I mean, I think you could, as a committee, you could decide to do it either way. What staff was thinking was that you would probably broadly outline some areas that you'd be interested in reviewing as a committee, and then having the subcommittee spend a little bit more time reviewing those areas and making recommendations on them. So, you might talk about, is there enough representation at council meetings from a policy perspective? Are you getting the right people in the room? Do you feel as if do you want to have more information about how the police department deals with diversity issues? Is there something that you might want to study on around that? I mean, those are the big areas. Those are the big questions that are really impacting the cities across the country, is making sure that people are represented in a way that people feel comfortable talking to the council, feel comfortable raising issues that they may be seeing. And I know from what we read about in the literature is that there are different subcommunities of cities that feel left out of the conversation.
Right.
And
Okay.
you know, and how does this committee feel about that? And is that something that this committee wants to look at, or are there other big policy questions that this committee wants to maybe tackle first?
Okay, well,
Right.
I think this kind of really ties into the community events portion. Would it be possible to do some sort of outreach program with the IDEA committee, either at community park or?
Yeah, I think from a city perspective, absolutely. And I think what we're hoping for and what the council is hoping for is that this committee would come up with ideas on how do we do better outreach and within the community.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm putting either you or Caroline in the spot, but are there any events that are coming up where we're expecting a decent turnout?
Absolutely, there is, and that was going to be one of the things that we wanted to talk about with the committee towards the end. Was that on October 1st, there's the Day in the Park, and that's where a lot of people from the community come down and and gather, and it would make some sense that there was a table or some type of outreach that this committee was able to put to, if they were able to put it together between now and October 1st, that you can let everybody know what you're interested in and what you're doing. I know Caroline and I, before the meeting, talked about it. And what Caroline's suggestion is, like, maybe having a table there and having what your definitions of idea and talking with the community about those different definitions. And so that was, I think that's like really a first step in all of this. The other thing that either your event committee or your policy committee could do in the meantime is maybe look at, are there certain questions you want to ask of the community? And then we can, introduce that at the Day in the Park, and then also maybe introduce, get some feedback at the Day in the Park, but then also do something as an online or some other type of way of polling the community.
No, I think that's a great idea, especially with that big of turnout that everyone's expecting.
Caroline is a very thoughtful person.
Well, I want to hear from more community members, because we have been trying to do the, use the social media and our blast to get people to vote on the definitions and whether they agree with ideas definitions. And we still haven't heard from, I feel, enough of the residents. So, I mean, I think Day in the Park would be a great way to just have access.
Well, I actually took a look at that survey that you did, and I feel like, would it be possible to just kind of, like, if it's still going on, to kind of change it in the sense where we're offering we're accepting more feedback instead of having them read the wall of text?
Oh, so you want to hear from like have it more open-ended? Yeah, we already
kind of like see what their personal thoughts are about the city of Brisbane and what how if they feel included in the community. Maybe just general questions, and then we can disseminate all of that. Hopefully we get at least a dozen or so responses, and then we can go from there. Because I don't think it's a great idea for us to just ask if what these definitions are decent or not, because then that doesn't really speak to what the individuals at Brisbane really feel. And I think that might be a little more important at this juncture. So, between that and that Day at the Park, I think we will be able to kind of gather enough community feedback to really dictate what we do moving forward.
I mean, you raise an interesting way that maybe you can, maybe the event committee could look at this as, part of their subcommittee between now and then, is maybe having a whiteboard or some kind of board where people write their definitions of the different ideas.
I like that. Is there a place in the city that's highly trafficked?
Well, I'm thinking if you do that during the Day in the Park, where you might have like 400 or 500 people who show up, or 1,000 people show up during the day. Okay, and you ask, and you have an ability for having sticky notes and a one of the big white boards, not a not where you write on, but where you can put sticky
Yeah.
notes on. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Foam core.
yeah, I've actually went to a seminar about a year ago where we wrote what we're appreciative of. I think
Right.
we can go both ways. What do we like about the city of Brisbane, and what can we improve on? And all
And
that would obviously be anonymous.
I mean, I think that might be a way, you know, that might be an area for both the policy committee and the events committee over the next month to like have a to meet together and say, what questions do you want to see raised during the day in the park? And
Mhm.
then at your September meeting, talk about them, and then we can put together some kind of a format for people to comment on it.
Okay, well,
I think that's a good idea.
maybe instead of a sticky note, kind of like those old school suggestion boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could kind of like have a small little printout, just kind of like basic questions on top, and then where they could just fill out their thoughts. That way, I think it would be a lot more accessible for us to kind of go through all of it individually.
So I mean, those are the kinds of things that
Yeah.
that you guys talk about at this meeting to see like what kind of a brainstorm do you want to have the committees work on, and maybe just look at it as what you want to work on in September to prepare for
Mhm.
the day in the park October 1st, and then from there get the feedback from the day in the park, and then spend more time in the committee as to what the issues are that you want to talk about.
Right. I did want to bring up one thing though. Would we have any sort of budget to entice people to actually come to our booth? Because I know last time when I was at concert in the parks department, they were giving out free sunglasses and stickers and stuff like that.
What I would say is that if you come up with something you want to give away or you want to entice people with, food is always hard because you need to have the right requirements if it's not packaged food. But if you packaged food, we could do it. But we as a city, we can put money towards this. There's no specific budget about it, but I'm not thinking you're thinking thousands and thousands of dollars.
I was thinking maybe like little stickers, say Brisbane cares, stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think
if
we want to do stickers like that, we probably should talk about it now so that way Caroline can find a place to get it done, because our next meeting is the third Wednesday of September.
The week before Day in the Park.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's really close, but it's like, if you want to do something like Brisbane Care stickers, we can look at to see what the cost is, and if it's nominal, we can just take care of that as a city. Or if you want a different thing on the stickers, we can look at that. So you might want to talk about that tonight as to specifically what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then as superficial as it sounds, that was the only reason I went to the Parks and Recs booth.
Mm-hmm.
Because then someone told me they were giving out free stickers and free sunglasses, and I got to talking with the Parks and Recs department, the staff, and everything. Might not be needed, but I feel like if we can get like a minimal budget for doing something like that, that would be great.
I mean, if you keep it down between lower than $500, I'm sure the city will be able to find money to do that.
Perfect.
And I think as part of the work plan, as you go forward with council, you might decide here, we need a budget to do more things. We might need to do budget to do speakers or outreach or something like that. And then as part of the work plan, put together a budget and present that to the city council so they can approve it as a whole. And
then as staff, you would be able to kind of give us a ballpark on how much things would cost.
We will give you our best estimates. We will do research for you. Like if you want to bring in speakers, or if you want to do more what we would call swag, and what the cost of the swag would be, we could do that. We could do that kind of outreach for research for you and let you know as a committee, and then you can make a decision as to what you want to present.
Okay, I was thinking starting off more like mailers and putting up posters.
Right, and we could put those kinds of costs together.
Okay, perfect. So I guess we kind of trailed off a bit, but talking back in policy issues, if Megesh or Diane wanted to kind of lead that conversation because they're the subcommittee in charge of that.
Right. To add to some structure to this, what I was thinking was, of course, we need to discuss this in our subcommittee, but the general framework that I'm thinking about, Stuart, and just correct, please give me your opinion on whether we would be in the right track doing this. We basically look at some policy recommendations that we could think about for each of those three dimensions: diversity, equity, and inclusion, and basically define some metrics, because accountability is also part of our charter, and define some metrics for each of those, one or maybe two at the most, and some timelines, so which are reasonable, generous, but at the same time something that we can kind of aspire towards, and do this in two ways. One, from recommendations for each of those dimensions for the city itself, for the city staff, and for the police department and other entities within the city who serve the community. And the other would be for the community itself. So, what would we do in terms of a policy recommendation for diversity dimension, for instance, for the community, and likewise for equity and for inclusion. So is that a reasonable approach?
I would think so. I mean, I think having the subcommittee start talking about what they want to see for diversity and equity and inclusion, and then having smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable.
Right.
Absolutely.
Realistic time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So
Yeah,
that's my
and-
input. So Diane, you, yeah.
Okay. So I completely agree with the Nangesh and everyone that mentioned about the how we can improve our community. But I don't have still visibility to what the city did in the past, what kind of policy the city has. So for instance, the fire department, police department, I don't know what kind of policy they have, if they have some kind of diversity or inclusion, that kind of policy already in place, or city hall stuff. If we have any guide, are we able to get some kind of information what or each city department does or has some kind of policy already in place?
Sure.
That's a great point.
Sorry, Mangesh. I mean, the city could.
I was saying that. Yeah.
I hate Zoom. I apologize. From a city perspective, we're more than happy to have different departments come to talk to the subcommittees to talk about what they're doing. We can talk generally about, obviously, overall, we are an equal opportunity employer. We, from that perspective, we have a very diverse workforce, as I think when you see us out on the street, you can see that. I think the city council is, and I think that's part of what city council is looking for you to help them with, is to understand what diversity in the community looks like, and diversity, how do we do that outreach? But right now we are putting out our information in multiple languages. That's something relatively new for us. If you noticed the last letter that we just sent out, we had a paragraph in Spanish and a paragraph in Chinese on the water and sewer rates to briefly explain it and to provide information as to where you can get more information in a language you can understand. But we've also been doing that a little bit more with everything we're doing. So we're beginning, it's something over the last year or so we've become a little bit more focused on. The city staff itself has a committee called EPIC. Now, yes, EPIC, which is Equity plus Inclusion Committee, where the staff has been really focusing on how do we do it for ourselves. I mean, we're really beginning to focus on an internal perspective of it. And what we're hoping for is that this committee broadens that perspective, and how do we reach out to the community and let the community know what we're doing and what we need to improve in from a community perspective.
Hey, Stu, I'm glad that you mentioned all of this, because I think what Mangesh is asking for is very reasonable, in the sense where they do get to talk with various aspects of the city government and see what they've been working on,
Right.
what their policy position is. And I think that way, us as a committee, we would be able to kind of evaluate what's been going on so far and make recommendations.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think both Diane and Mangesh have been spot on, is, finding out what the policies are that we have, what we're doing, and then trying to figure out what are the SMART goals to get us to move further.
Yeah, I think transparency is a great thing, especially if both of them can, the three of them can talk to the other agencies and see what's been going on. And then on the community event side, I think, well, in my opinion, I think we really should kind of hone down at least the basics of what we want to do as a committee on the policy issues before we can really tackle the community events. I mean, it's great that we've circled in October as the first huge event where we're going to do a lot more outreach. But hopefully, I don't want to put a time frame on this, but hopefully the policy issues subcommittee will be able to meet before our next meeting and just really figures out what we should be doing at the community events to kind of further that policy goal.
I know, like, a lot of committees, what they'll do is they'll have one large committee meeting a month, and then each of the subcommittees will meet once a month.
Yeah, that's.
So that way they have like some time in between, the subcommittee can meet, in between the regular meetings. So that way there's something to return back
Yeah,
with.
and then well, we have a month until the next meeting, and then assuming that both subcommittees would, I guess, figure out a time within the next month to meet, and then we'll all report back, right?
We're actually going to try to schedule those before we leave tonight's meeting.
Perfect. Would we be able to do that because we're at 2 and 2 right now?
You can
Tentatively?
What we could do is put together maybe 2 or 3 dates that you're available, that the 4 of you are available for, and then just open it up to the other 2 to see which one of those dates work the best.
Okay, and then remind me again, are the subcommittees open to public input?
Yes.
Okay, so we would need more than enough time to kind of notify the public of that, right? What's the time frame for that?
Well,
72 hours.
Yeah, I
prior
mean,
to-
Okay, perfect.
I mean, what I would think is if you can meet within the next, maybe 2 weeks from, maybe one committee meet 2 weeks from now and one committee meet 3 weeks from now, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Because you got the
time.
same staff working on it, so it's just making sure that
exactly.
the staff is available.
Okay, I mean, I guess when we get to that portion of the meeting, we would figure out when staff is available, and then we'll go off of that.
Oh, I always assume staff is available when you're available.
All right.
Other than I have a vacation, but Caroline and Ingrid do not have the same vacation time that I do, so they would be available for you.
Mhm. But I want to be mindful as well.
And we appreciate that.
So I'm not sure if we can really identify policy issues at this moment, especially since we're missing one person in the subcommittee.
Oh, actually 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, I'm in event committee.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, so we have everybody from the event committee and only one
Right.
person from the other one.
Okay,
Right.
that makes it easier for the events. I'm sorry, Mangesh. So I think if anything, we should maybe table the policy issues discussion for the subcommittee, and then hopefully by the next meeting, we can actually come back as a full committee and discuss. And just in time for the community event.
So, quick question, Stuart, can I request you to send us the information about the EPIC initiative and the EPIC program within the city? And if you have any kind of tracker or reports there, that would help us as a baseline. And it is likely that, once we make policy recommendations to the city, that you've already met these. And in fact, we might go beyond that and say, in terms of other peers, other cities, for example, within the Bay Area, city governments, or maybe even, regionally, that Brisbane might actually be, stacked pretty high in terms of meeting those attributes, meeting, some of those recommendations. So basically, if that is something that is shareable, that would be helpful for us. I mean, my other two subcommittee members, unfortunately, are not present today, but I'm sure it will help them as well. And it'll help us kind of brainstorm and make the right appropriate policy recommendations.
We will see what we have. I mean, it's our EPIC committee is fairly new, and we've done a lot of our focus has been on attracting people, like how do we do that, and also on how do we make sure that people are promoted in a fair way within the city, that we give a lot of opportunities for that. And that's what, so I think a lot of what your committee is going to be looking at is different from what the EPIC committee is going to be looking at. We're really looking at what are the city's internal policies from a staff perspective that may be holding us back. Whereas I think what you're really thinking about is like, what are, like, how do we, I mean, we have, obviously we have an EOC report that we provide about like what our distribution of self-proclaimed people are, but that doesn't really get to maybe everything that you may be interested in. And I don't know if we ever can, just from a privacy standpoint, but also, other policies from your perspective, maybe, how does the city council recruit for committee members? That may be, and what we could tell you what we do, Ingrid could tell you all that, but you may say there might be other ways to do that. You might be looking at how does the police department interact with the public, whereas EPIC isn't looking at that. EPIC is really looking at is how do we make sure that people feel comfortable in voicing their issues internally. You might want to say, how does the police department work externally with everybody, and what is and I know they just had to do a report for the state that talked about who they interact with. And is there seem to be a bias with who they interact with? That may be something you as a policy committee may want to talk about.
Okay, makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay, so, that really helps.
Right. We'll get you what we have, but as I said, I think a lot of what you may be looking at may really be focused on a different perspective than what EPIC is focusing on.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you understand both sides of this. So whatever is shareable and relevant, you think that will help us in driving our agenda, feel free to share that. And another, if we have an idea of what is happening there, it will also help us align our own policies and complement what the EPIC already has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can, since we only have one member from the policy committee, maybe what we will do is just send out a doodle poll to make that a little bit easier for that one. And then we can, if we can lock down the meeting for the events committee, we can then work it through the staff schedules to when people are there for to do the doodle poll for the other one, for the policy committee.
Sounds good to me.
And I feel like I've been talking a lot. I apologize, William.
That's all right. So remind me again, the next committee meeting is on the 15th of September, right? Oh, I'm sorry, 14th. The 21st. Sorry.
September 21st.
21st. So I guess Christian and Diane, do you have any prior engagements anytime until then that will prevent you?
What time on the 21st? I might be available, yeah.
No, the 21st is actually our next committee meeting, so we have to meet before then.
Got it. I can work around your schedule.
Okay.
I am actually out until September 1st.
Okay.
I'll be traveling, but I am available at anytime after that.
Okay, so Caroline and Stuart, I guess between, let's say the 5th and maybe the 16th.
Right, so the 5th is Labor Day, so I don't think we want to meet on the 5th.
Sounds good. The 6th to the 16th, are there any days that do not work?
I'm going to be out of town the 6th and coming back on the 7th.
Okay.
So maybe, but Stuart, you too, right?
Oh, I'm out of town from the 7th to the 16th. I'm hoping to take an Alaskan cruise. So I would suggest that you don't worry about me being available, but Caroline and Ingrid will be, they will be available. I think the only, yeah, I mean, I think, the question is, do you want to do a Wednesday night or do you want to do a different night? Or do you want to do it during the day? Because, staff is available during the day as well.
I think with a lot of us with full-time jobs, that might be hard to make that commitment.
Want to do the 7th then? Wednesday, the 7th?
It's only the 17th right now, so we have the 18th to the 31st, realistically.
Right. I mean, you could do something on the 24th.
We can 24th or the 31st if you want to stick to Wednesdays. I'm okay.
Right, because what the challenge is that we do need 72 hours before to post an agenda.
Okay.
And this meeting would not be televised in the same way. We'd record it, but there may be other meetings that might have our Zoom channel up.
Okay.
But we'd have a Zoom meeting, but it may not be able to be broadcast. But we don't broadcast, do we?
We don't broadcast.
We just do it
actually.
on YouTube. Yeah. So it'd
We
be the same
upload
thing.
it after the meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But,
Same thing that we normally do.
So if there's another committee meeting, you two are not part of them, right?
No.
Okay. So I
It
mean,
would be like planning meetings and Parks and Recreation Commission and other ones that the three of us do not attend.
okay, perfect. I mean, I'm okay with any time. Well, 3 days notice, maybe 24th to the 31st. It seems like everyone's free.
Mhm.
The 24th and the 31st work for me.
Does the
Diane?
24th work better for you, Diane? Because I know you're going on vacation or you're going to be out of town.
I'm out of town whole week.
Whole week
Oh,
of the
okay.
21st.
Yeah,
So
whole week. Next
you wanna
week
be-
until the third. I'm coming back on the 31st.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
you-
And Caroline, did you say you were gone the first?
The 6th.
With
So I'll be back on the 7th.
and Stuart's gone.
you're right, but as I said, but you could do a meeting on the 1st at 6 o'clock
That's
I am
fine
here.
for me.
I'm here.
if that works for you and Christian.
Yeah, that works for me, Christian.
That works for me as well. September 1st at 6 p.m.
Right,
Perfect.
because I mean, we have a council meeting at 5, but that should be very quick.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we could bump up to 6:30. Whatever if it matters.
Right, okay. Okay,
Did
and
you
that
say
would just be a
6:30?
subcommittee for events.
Okay. Yep. For the events committee. Yep. Subcommittee.
6 p.m. or 6:30?
Let's see what we have to do for the council meeting before we make a decision.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we could communicate via brand new emails.
Yes.
That's right.
And the only reason I say that is because there may be an item on the council agenda on the 1st that may take a little bit longer. Right now, the only item on it is allowing us to meet remotely.
Got it.
But there may be another item that pops up on that agenda that may take a little bit of time.
Mhm. So just out of curiosity, because I know committee member Horton, she was curious. Is that extending the remote meetings?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, so I think we could tentatively schedule it for the 1st at 6 or 6:30.
Okay.
We'll confirm in the next week or so.
And we'll send out a doodle poll for the policy committee to see when everybody's available for that. We'll give them a number of different days and times to do that.
Perfect.
That'd be
Do you-
great. Thank you.
Do you have a preference, Mangesh? And so you are the one who is here?
So did we want to do it before the 1st, before the events subcommittee meeting? Or
We could.
okay. So yeah, I think we could go with around the 20, the week prior then,
Okay.
the Wednesday prior, yeah. Which would be just about a week from now or 10 days from now. So within that range.
Okay.
So with 3 days notice, theoretically you could do it on the first Monday of next week.
We
But-
could. That would be difficult to get information.
Of course,
to
yeah,
you.
but so I guess
But we can shoot for maybe the 24th. We'll shoot for the 24th through the 30th. We'll give different days and times for that
Perfect.
time period.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then you can
because,
decide in the meetings if you need to have a second subcommittee before the regular meeting. even.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
And then would it be possible for, would there be minutes from those meetings published in time for our meeting?
Probably not. But what normally would happen is that the committee members would report back what happened. And if there's an ability for us to write a staff report, we would write a staff report from those meetings
Got
to
it.
give everybody information about what happened.
All right, just wanted to make sure the timeline of everything.
Yeah, we don't normally have, I have not been in committees where we actually have published minutes in the same way that we do for the full committee.
Okay.
Subcommittees are a little less formal than full committees.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Unless anyone else objects, I think that's I think we've pretty much wrapped up all the new business. All right. My gosh, was there anything? Oh, I saw your hand movement.
I think so. No, I'm with you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item of business. Staff report, please. I think we have an update on the city emails and business cards.
Right, so just please reach out to Ingrid to receive your city email information and come to City Hall during public office hours to get your business cards.
So
You say that, but if you want to make an appointment to come and get your business card outside of public hours, just let us know and we will.
Yeah, we're here. Anytime you want to come,
Yeah,
just let
I
us
mean,
know. You have our email.
but
Yeah.
those are printed, right? They're ready.
They're all ready. Just need
they
to.
are ready. And
them
in
to
fact,
you.
if you want us to, I'd be more than happy to drop them off at your house if you just let me know that that's how you'd rather do it, and we can schedule a time.
I see Mangesh already picked up his.
I got mine today. So, yeah, so Ingrid wasn't there, but one of her colleagues helped me, and so I was
Right.
able to get mine. Yeah, and it's set up on email as well. So that,
Yeah.
and I was letting Ingrid know, feel free to drop my email so that the future correspondence can be on the city email ID.
Yeah. Right. Well, I might have one of you guys drop it off in my mailbox. Who should I contact?
You could either send you could send me an email or Caroline, either one.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that right after this meeting.
Sounds
Sure.
good.
All right. So I guess no other staff announcements.
No, but I just wanted to clarify, going back to the survey that's already out, should we change it, or should we focus on maybe in the events committee meeting having a new survey for Day in the Park and for future online?
No, I think we can just keep it as is right now.
Mhm.
That way it doesn't skew it, doesn't change it, the link.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything. And then at the park, we could just have sheets of paper and people can just write whatever they feel.
Yeah, suggestion box.
Yeah, I think that would be better than the whiteboard because then it's less hassle for everyone involved.
A little bit more anonymity too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. All right. All right. Let's move on to the last thing. Does any committee member have any reports? All right. Awesome. Well, this meeting is adjourned at 6:47 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
soon,
you.
subcommittee.
Caroline, thank you, Stuart.
Okay,
Thanks,
so
everyone.
one last question.
Thank
For
you.
the event committee, are we receiving our another Zoom link, right?
Would it be the same?
Yes.
Is that gonna be the same, or?
It'll be
likely
another
be
one.
the
We will,
same.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll send out another
Oh, okay, all right,
invitation.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good.
thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing you all really soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.